Hello again, everyone. It's Brian Mellett, principal with B Green Consultants. I hope everyone can hear me and see me okay. I tried my typical Facebook Live at 4 o'clock, and unfortunately, we ran into a lot of Wi-Fi issues. There's some bad weather coming through. I'm not sure what happened, but I couldn't keep that signal alive. So we made some changes, and I hope everyone can hear me and see me now. And again, I apologize for the tech glitches and appreciate your understanding. So I'm going to start at the top and go from there. Hopefully, like I said, won't have any other issues. As I mentioned, this is our Facebook Live for March 4th, 2020. And this is a special Facebook Live because in addition to the information that I typically cover, this will also be the first of a 3-week educational series, which is titled Discovering Your Place in the Cannabis Industry. So we're going to, in addition to information that I typically cover, we're going to delve into the cannabis industry from the standpoint of where the business opportunities are, factors to keep in mind if you're looking to begin a business and get started in this booming industry. So to get started, as I typically do, I'd like to discuss some takeaways from some recent blog articles that we've published on bgreenconsultants.com. There have been 2 since our last Facebook Live. So I wanted to quickly touch on those 2 blogs and again, pull out of them a few takeaways that I feel are really important for you guys to keep in mind. The first blog was titled Edibles and Drinkables Are Leading the Cannabis Market in 2020. So this has to do with a research piece that was conducted by a company called Mintel, and it focused on the Canadian market and what they foresee happening in 2020. And I think it's really important because a lot of what's been happening in the US market has mirrored the Canadian market. So thought I'd share some takeaways from the research. The first is there was a focus of the research on non-users. There was information on current users as well, but an important takeaway that I found from the research was that 66% of non-users felt that they would try cannabis at some point if it was in the form of an edible or a drinkable. Okay, so from a marketing standpoint, from a product standpoint, it's extremely important information, right? Because if we're going to continue to grow in this space and bring in new consumers, you're going to want the products to be formulated in a way that are appealing to non-users, right? So 66% of non-users claim that, yeah, sure, I might try a product in the future if it was in the form of an edible or drinkable. Because of that information, the feeling is as the market matures, this is a great way to introduce cannabis to the non-user market, right? They're pretty much telling us, hey, if you present it in this way, there's a good chance that we'll try it. So again, from a product standpoint, we foresee a lot more products coming out in the form of edibles and drinkables to appeal to that non-user market. That and educating the market is also vitally important. I know with a lot of research that we've done with our clients, there's still an uncertainty and unease with a lot of people that are using cannabis because they're questioning the supply chain or they're questioning the ingredients, the quality of the products. So as more and more the industry becomes regulated, I think that will help to mitigate some of those fears, of consumers. But as a brand, the more that you can educate your consumer about the quality of your product, the better. And also educating the user, right? So that they have a better understanding, which makes the product a little less complicated or even intimidating, really. Okay, so another takeaway. And then thirdly, they identified some industries that they believe are going to be big winners as the edible and drinkable market grows. The first is obviously the food and beverage industry, obviously, right? As they come out with more new and improved products that will appeal to that non-using market, they should be big winners. Secondly, would be health and wellness. There's going to be more and more products that are infused with cannabis, and so they foresee big growth in health and wellness as well. The third industry was a little surprising to me, and that's tourism. They feel that there's going to be a lot of business that's going to be conducted around the concept of cannabis and tourism. So that was the third industry that they felt would be big winners in 2020. So check out that blog. It's on bgreenconsultants.com. The second one that I wanted to touch on real quick was titled Getting Creative with Cannabis Marketing, right? It's something that I can speak of firsthand. You know, we work with a bunch of different clients in the space, and so we know firsthand the challenges that trying to build marketing campaigns with cannabis brands, the challenges that you can face if you try to go a traditional marketing route, right? The regulations that are in place really force marketers to become creative and really think outside of the box, right? So that's what this blog touches on, just some ideas for thinking outside of the box to help to get the word out about your cannabis brand. While the thinking may be outside of the box, there are a few certain, I'd call them tenets of marketing that you do want to keep in mind as you're being creative and you're bobbing and weaving around, trying to get your message out, finding the right channels, right? You do want to keep some tenets in mind. The first is that content is king. So the more that you can publish, the more channels that you can get your message out on, the better, right? Consumers are going to see that. They're going to appreciate the information. They're going to, over time, view you as an authority in your space, which helps to build brand loyalty. So although traditional marketing is a challenge to conduct in this space, content is still king, right? So get on as many channels as you can and try to get your message out any way that you can. The second tenet is focus on the local marketing. What we're finding is that consumers are really appreciating businesses that operate at a local level. They know them, they can trust them, and although there are some big national players, if you can focus on the local market and become a known entity to them, again, as an authority in the space, it will build a more loyal customer base for you. Third thing, again, education, right? It builds brand trust. So focus on educating your consumers, and that, again, will help you to differentiate yourself, I believe, from a lot of other brands that are out there that are simply looking for a transaction, right, with product and money. If you can educate your consumer and show a care for what their concerns, what their questions may be, that will help to differentiate you in the market. And then finally, I believe that publishers and agencies like Be Green Consultants, as a consultancy, for example, they play a key role in a brand's development, right? So if you can find established publishers that you can get your content on, those channels will enable you to grow very quickly, right? Rather than trying to build some campaigns potentially on social media where They can be quite challenging. And then also working with agencies that know the industry, know the ins and outs, will really help you to avoid some pitfalls that you may fall into if you don't have some of the knowledge and the experience that some of the agencies may have. So those are some takeaways from the second blog. I invite you to check them both out on bgreenconsultants.com. Now I want to switch gears and do a deep dive into the first week of a 3-week educational series, again, titled Discover Your Place in the Cannabis Industry, right? This is a booming industry. It's unlike any that I have seen in my lifetime. And it's actually been described as a once-in-a-generation opportunity from a business standpoint. So let's start by talking a little bit about the industry, right? It's expected to grow to hit over $20 billion in revenue by 2021. So for being a young industry, that's tremendous growth. And so it's been described as a green rush, right? Similar to the gold rush in the past. There are a lot of people entering the industry. So if you have an interest in building a business around an idea that you have, and you feel that you have some interest and skills and experience that you can leverage that's applicable in the cannabis industry, then in my opinion, now is the time to act, right? Because the space is only going to get more and more competitive. So the sooner that you can get in and carve out, a piece of that industry, the better. Again, $20 billion industry very soon. And that industry is supporting over 243,000 jobs now in the United States. We covered this in a blog a few weeks back, that the cannabis industry is now the fastest growing industry in the United States. So just a tremendous amount of momentum, right, in this space. So again, if you have an idea and you have a solid business plan, now's the time to jump in. As it relates to starting a business in this industry, there are some factors that you want to keep in mind, really, regardless of what sector you may want to enter, right? There are some certain factors that you want to keep in mind as you build your business plan and launch your business. The first is that you really want to choose a sector, right? Because the industry is getting more and more competitive, as I mentioned. And so the more focused that you are with your business offering, the better. A lot of these businesses require a good bit of capital, especially the growing operations and the dispensaries. To get a license with one of those, you're going to need at least $1 million. So it's a bit of a barrier to entry, for a lot of people. So when you're looking at what to focus on, find a sector that you really feel that you can offer something unique, right? And you can leverage your skills and your experience with. So that's the first thing. Choose a sector. Don't go in too broad. The second one is do all you can to learn everything that you can about your consumers, right? The consumers that are using cannabis now are becoming more and more educated about the products, and so they're asking more and more educated questions, right? The non-users are kind of intimidated. It's a complex, bunch of products. They're not really sure how to use it, what it's all about. So again, the more that you can get to know your consumer base or potential consumers, the better. It's definitely a factor with how fast you'll grow in this space, right? The third factor to keep in mind is that you want to stay on the right side of the laws and regulations. They vary from state to state, and just like the products can be complicated in the eyes of potential users, building the business properly can tend to be very complicated as well. from the standpoint of making sure that you have all your business structured in a way that is approvable with all the laws and restrictions of your state. Each state is different. They're kind of acting as fiefdoms right now because the cannabis is not legalized at the federal level. So make sure that you are well versed on all of the laws and regulations of your state. And you may want to get an attorney involved in structuring your business so that you know that you have all of those things covered. Finally, the last factor to keep in mind is you're going to need capital, even if it's a small mom and pop type operation. You're going to need capital, and it's a challenge to get capital in this space, right? The banks are not wanting to offer a lot of business loans because, again, it's not legalized at the federal level, so they steer away from a lot of this potential business. The institutional investors are a little leery for the same reasons. So your best opportunities probably lie in private investors, right? So do your best to align yourself with some private investors that you can sell them on your business idea. And that's probably the best way to go about getting some capital to start your business. Speaking of capital, another thing to keep in mind is human capital, right? Employees, workers that you may need in order to help your business grow. As I mentioned, the cannabis industry is supporting 243,000 jobs in the US. So there are certain states that are leading the charge, right, as it comes to jobs in the cannabis industry. So I thought I'd list those states real fast so that you know that these states are where the human capital availability is the greatest. Not surprisingly, it's California, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Florida, Arizona, Nevada, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, which is a bit of a surprise to me, and then Illinois. So those are some states where, from a human capital standpoint, you should have a good opportunity to get some good help to grow your business. And so just something else to keep in mind as factors for launching a business. So with that in mind, I wanted to offer some food for thought from standpoint of business ideas that you may want to consider in the cannabis industry. And these are some business ideas that are general in nature. I'll describe them as business opportunities. I'll touch on maybe some backgrounds that you may or may not have that would lend itself to having success with these particular types of businesses. And then obviously, if you have any questions, please let me know. Message me here on Facebook or shoot me an email. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the information that we cover, right? So again, when you hear some of these business ideas, I'd like you to keep in mind, do I have, first of all, an interest in this particular area? Secondly, do I have any education, or do I have any particular skills, right, or business experience that I can leverage and apply it to this new business idea in this space? The ones that are able to do that have a leg up on the others that are simply jumping in, trying to find out what works, and kind of jumping into it a little blind. So the first potential business idea that I wanted to mention was cannabis farming and processing, right? These would be great businesses for the person that enjoys being outside, right? As well as possibly having a chemistry or engineering degree, because these are rather complex businesses to run. You're going to be supplying the product to the supply chain. So you need to know ideal conditions for the soil, for how to grow the product, obviously, right? As well as it requires a license, to do the growing and the processing. So there's significant investment that's going to be required if you have an interest in starting a business that's related to the growing or the processing of the cannabis in this space. Another business idea would be a cannabis delivery service, right? This industry has created an opportunity for delivery services between the growers and the dispensaries, right? And so someone that enjoys being out on the road, driving, is very organized, they could possibly create a cannabis delivery service in a state where I would recommend in a state where both the medicinal and recreational use has been legalized. That way you have the largest market to work with that you can. But you kind of act as a middleman between a lot of players in the industry. But I thought this was a great idea for someone. It's rather low capital involvement, at the outset. And I think someone that has a good business plan could really carve out a really good business as a cannabis delivery service. Also, if you would like to get your hands on the product a little bit, perhaps you would like to open a cannabis restaurant, right? Or sell edibles and drinkables. If you have potentially a degree in cooking, right? Or you enjoy cooking and being creative, coming up with new products, there are restaurants that are opening that are cannabis restaurants where they are designing meals that are infused with cannabis. And so if you have some of those attributes, perhaps you have a cooking degree that you can leverage and take advantage of the growth of interest in cannabis restaurants. Or maybe you want to look at a retail operation that sells the edibles and the drinkables, right? Again, leveraging your background with the food industry. There are cannabis accessory stores, right? These are popular also for people that not only have a retail background, but maybe they don't want such a hands-on experience with the products, but they want to jump in and take advantage of all the growth in this industry. There are a lot of accessories that go with the using of the cannabis products. So whole stores are being created just selling the accessories. You could have a brick or mortar store that would require some significant investment. You could open an e-commerce site, right? And so there are a lot of ways to leverage a background in, if you have a degree in business, right? If you have run some online businesses, perhaps you enjoy crafts, right? There are a lot of products that can be sold through an accessories store. There could be obviously pipes and things for using the cannabis, but also clothing. There could be pet supplies. Pets is a big piece of the industry that is only going to get larger and larger. So some of those things are ideas that you may want to consider, again, based on your background, your experience, and what your interests are, where your skills lie, right? We want to make the most and leverage your experience the best we can to take advantage of these opportunities in this industry. A couple other ideas that I wanted to discuss. One is a cannabis cosmetic line, right? Or a infused body product line. So perhaps you have an existing product line where you're selling cosmetics. And if so, awesome, because you may be able to change tact a little bit and get into some body products that are infused with cannabis, right? They've shown that they have a lot of medicinal qualities to them. And we foresee that industry only growing leaps and bounds, not only this year, but in the foreseeable future. The cosmetic industry in and of itself is an enormous industry. So there's tremendous opportunity there. This is an ideal business, again, for someone that has a background in business and perhaps chemistry, when you're talking about putting these products together that are infused with the cannabis. And there are a lot of products that are available and more coming out all the time. So anything from creams and lotions, sprays, there are massage oils, there are bath soaks and balms. And so all kinds of products that there is a substantial market for. There are a lot of people searching for these products. And so if you have the background that you can leverage, you can do extremely well with a business focused in the cosmetic, or we call it the infused body product space. And then the final business opportunity that I wanted to mention this time around are cannabis marketers and consultants, similar to the work that we do with Be Green Consultants. If you have a marketing background, perhaps you have a sales background, there are a ton of businesses that are looking to create a buzz and get the word out. As we've talked about a lot, it's a challenge in this space to work with the typical marketing channels and stay on the right side of all of the regulations. So being able to have that type of marketing knowledge and then work with a bunch of other businesses that are looking to get the word out, you can do extremely well from a standpoint of marketing in the cannabis space or consulting with existing businesses. There are more and more businesses coming into this space. A lot of them don't have traditional business training. So if you have a consulting background and you've worked with a lot of businesses with building business plans and structuring financing, for example, you could be a tremendous help to a lot of businesses out there and do extremely well as a consultant, right? They're going to need advice on not only setting up a traditional business plan, but from a funding standpoint, there's challenges with the banks, with payment processing, the list goes on and on. So if you're someone that has that particular skill set or experience with consulting with businesses, especially startups, again, you could do extremely well. So those are some ideas that I'd like you guys to consider. Again, it's just some food for thought. This is the first of a 3-week series that we titled, Discovering Your Place in the Cannabis Industry. I want you guys to feel energized and excited about everything that's going on in this space. Again, it's unlike any space that I've worked in my career, which I'm happy to share is 25 years plus. So I'm really excited about a lot of the growth that I see, not only with the states that are coming on board, but the business opportunities surrounding all the different products that are coming out. So, if you have an interest and you have the skills, you have the experience, go for it. Get the right training, and in my opinion, now's the time to act before the industry gets any more competitive and the inevitable shakeouts start to happen here as this market matures. So this concludes the first of our 3-part series. I welcome any questions or comments that you have. If there's some businesses that you'd like us to discuss as business opportunities, let me know. I'll be happy to add those to one of the 2 remaining weeks in the series. And I hope that you found great value from the information that we covered. Again, we have the 2 blogs that we posted on bgreenconsultants.com. So please dig into those. I think there's great information. We try to offer a blend of not only newsworthy items, but also good strategy from a marketing standpoint with our blogs and the information on bgreenconsultants.com. So I hope you find great value in those, as well as the Facebook Lives that we have each week, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. Again, I apologize if any of you guys have stayed on through the media or the technology glitches with the media at the outset. And again, shoot me any questions either on Facebook or email me to bmellet@bgreenconsultants.com. And excuse me, until I see you next week, have an awesome week, and wish everyone the best. Take care.